So it's been almost a week since the Vince McMahon documentary, Mr. McMahon, was released on Netflix. And really nothing really has come of it that I didn't expect. Um, except for the Bill Simmons stuff. The Bill Simmons stuff really kind of like was like, what? Really? Did you not? I mean, you've met this guy several times. You've interviewed him before when you were doing the Andre the Giant documentary. How could you have not have known how stupid and twisted this guy is? He talks about how there was the day that they were supposed to interview Vince, he um was late and kept pushing back the time to the point where it was like, I can't remember if he said like 11 o'clock or 3 o'clock in the morning. I don't know. 11 o'clock at night, 3 o'clock in the morning. They said it was pretty damn late when they were interviewing him. Um, no surprise there. Vince keeps odd hours. Always has. Um, there's been, stories of him landing from a TV taping at, you know, midnight and going and doing a workout at the gym, getting to bed at 3 o'clock in the morning and getting back up at 6. The man barely sleeps. He's lived like that for most of his life. Um, the one thing I wanted to talk about was Dave Meltzer's reaction to all this. Because if there was ever another guy who was more self-centered and egomaniacal than Vince McMahon, it has to be Dave Meltzer. Um, I listened to Dave Meltzer's hotlines, and where him and Garrett Gonzalez covered they go episode by episode, and it's the same old rhetoric from Dave Meltzer that we've heard years, as Meltzer would say, for years and years and years. So. And I'm wondering how much of these interviews they really had to cut out when it comes to Dave Meltzer. Because if you've never listened to a Dave Meltzer hotline, this man stammers so much. And what do I mean by like that? He like, you can ask him about, what do you think about Vince McMahon? Well, you know, Vince, yeah, it's so, the man can't speak. How this man has stayed in the journalistical, um, is that even a word? How he stayed in the journalist spotlight for so long when it comes to wrestling, is beyond me. Thank God he doesn't write how he talks. His newsletters would be about 500 pages long, and at least 300 of those pages would have the words "so," and years and years and years. I mean, I think, and clearly you could tell. Um, I was listening to another hotline. I won't say who. Well, I'll go ahead and say it. It's PW Insider. I was listening to Dave Scher's review of this thing, and Meltzer had said that he was interviewed early this year about it, um, and that was the last time he was interviewed, which is right after the lawsuit came out and everything like that. Um, so I find it funny how it's not just Dave Scher, Mike Johnson, everybody has messaged me asking me, did you see the really bad dye job that Dave Meltzer has done on his hair? And did you see the bald spot when he went to go sit down for that second interview? His big ass bald spot. I'm just like, guys, he already looks like the Crypt Keeper almost. He is wrestling's version of the Crypt Keeper. He could tell you tales from the wrestling crypt. Here's a man that just needs to give it up and retire. He talks about Vince not wanting to retire. He talks about Vince sticking around too long. This man has stuck around too long. He needs to retire. He's killing he has just as much to do with killing the business as anybody else does. And here lately, it's been for one reason. He will not come out and say that Tony Khan has no business booking wrestling. As much as he has bashed AEW, and as much as he does criticize the booking, he will not come out and say that Tony Khan is the problem. He talks about certain websites wanting their access and needing that access to stay relevant. He is also a prime example of somebody in this business. He is Access Media. He was given advanced copies of this documentary. And he could not speak about it at all until the day it came out because they were under a review embargo. Who does that sound like? That sounds like anybody who is in the in the entertainment business who writes about movies, who does movie reviews. He won't bash Tony Khan because he is afraid of losing his access with AEW. So, granted, Vince McMahon has, he hasn't probably done half the brutal, stupid crap that Vince McMahon's done, but he's just as much out there to blame for fueling the fire over the years. And I know videos like this don't count, or don't, not that they don't count. They don't help matters any, is what I should say. But overall, nothing really has come to light over the McMahon documentary, except for the fact that everybody's reviewing it, everybody's talking about it. It's been number 2 on the Netflix TV shows top 10 um since it debuted, and I can tell you that right now, um, although it was only available on Netflix streaming service since Wednesday, the McMahon documentary series ranked as the 4th most watched show globally on the platform between September 23rd and 29th. During that time, the docu-series received 4.9 views and a total of 28.2 million hours streamed. The leading global ranking was the Melendez story, the Melendez thing, with a commanding 19.5 million views and 153.8 million hours watched. Nobody Wants This Season 1 took second place with 10.3 million views and 45.7 million hours streamed. The Perfect Couple limited series came in third. Um, in the United States and Canada, Mr. McMahon ranked as the 3rd most watched show on Netflix, passing The Perfect Couple in those regions. Sorry. It was also the 2nd most watched Netflix show in the UK, trailing only to the Melendez Brothers documentary. I'm sitting here now looking at a table here, and yeah, the Melendez story had 2 weeks in the top 10. Nobody wants this season 1 had 1 week in the top 10. The Perfect Couple limited series has been there for 4 weeks. Surprisingly, Prison Break season 1 and 2 are 7th and 8th, and then the Prison Break season 3 is 10th. But it's nice to see, people are watching it, people are viewing it. I don't know what people are getting out of it. I mean, how many times can you say the guy is an egotistical, self-centered, narcissistic pervert before it just gets old already? Until some light comes to this. The FBI always has to be in the news cycle one way or another. We got countries overseas bombing each other, so that's not really going to be much. The vice presidential debate is happening tonight, along with the election in about a month and a half, or about a month actually. So the FBI needs something to put them back in the news cycle after the whole P Diddy thing and all this. So I look for them honestly before the end of the year or at the very start of next year. I'll say this: between now and the end of February, we will see Vince McMahon get arrested by the FBI. And it's pretty much some of the same charges that they've piled on Sean Diddy Combs: human trafficking. You know, he brought her. I think there was something in the indictment saying that he would pay for her to fly to whatever city he was in. That's transporting somebody across state lines. But at the same time, you know, him, bringing Johnny Ace in and wanting to bring Brock Lesnar in, and that could also be quote unquote what Diddy would call a freak off. Uh, God, that sounds so stupid when you say it like that. But anyway, that's what the FBI is calling it. So I guess that's what we got to call them too, freak offs. And there's rumors out there that they may be getting ready to bring Brock Lesnar back. I think that they're waiting for all this to blow over before they do. They're waiting to see if Brock Lesnar gets called as a witness. They're waiting to see if Brock Lesnar gets his phone records, subpoenaed or whatever you would call it. I guess it's subpoenaed because a warrant for them. I don't know. But I think that the WWE is, wanting to distance themselves from this as much as possible. WWE is named in the lawsuit that Janelle Grant filed that is currently on hold because the FBI has requested that it be put on hold. And when the FBI says, hey, don't sue this guy yet, that right there kind of tells me that, hey, before you get any money out of him, we're going to get our money out of him too. Because I guarantee the FBI, if they're telling someone to halt an investigation that is pretty much a money grab, let's not make any bones about this. She wants money. Again, I've said this in almost every video I've done on this subject. The moment the money stopped is the moment she started making a hubbub about this. If Vince McMahon would have kept paying her, then she would never have been able to do, and she would have never broke her silence. So I think that when you have a lawsuit here that says money grab, like this one does, and the FBI tells you, hey, could you put that on pause? It means that the FBI wants to get to this guy's finances before anybody else. It means that the FBI wants to freeze this guy's money bank accounts before anybody else. There could be tax evasion charges that we don't know about yet. That's my theory on why they, not because they want to use her as a witness. That's going to come too. But it's called before Vince McMahon shells out any more money to anybody in big lump sums like that. The IRS and the FBI and everybody else wants to make sure that they have first dibs. It's not about the jail time. It's not about them getting to sue or Janelle Grant getting to sue him beforehand. Also, another thing is they don't want to create case study. Now, what do I mean by that? It means that they don't want to have to sit there and, let's say it goes to trial and the jury or the judge or whatever finds him not guilty. Then when the FBI goes to slap the same charges on him, they have a precedent. There's been a precedent set with that trial saying, hey, you know, This court of law found him, and this jury of his peers found him not guilty of this. Again, it's all about the FBI wanting first dibs against this man. Um, Another thing with the aftermath of this is the whole Shane McMahon thing. A lot of people talking about Shane McMahon. If you go back and watch or listen to the reviews I did on each episode, I make it abundantly clear that my main thing with this, the thing that leaves me most heartbroken, is that we will never have another McMahon running WWE ever again. He took his kids' birthright away from them because he did not trust them to carry his vision the same way he didn't carry his father's vision. So that right there is like the ultimate sin to me. We all want to give our kids what better lives than what we had. And to a certain extent, Vince done that. Those kids hasn't, Shane and Stephanie and all his grandkids and everybody else and Paul Levesque, they'll never have to want for a thing, nor have they ever wanted for a thing, wanted for anything the rest of their lives. Or all their lives, for that matter. So he's made all his children very wealthy. And, another thing that kills me is, and I've often wondered, is there some kind of contract or paperwork or post-nump or pre-nump or whatever the case, may be between Vince and Linda? I also bring up in my reviews that especially the one on episode 6, I've wondered why, ever since that Playboy interview came out, why haven't they divorced? Why hasn't she divorced him? She could own half of everything he's got because he's got it right there in print for all the world to read. And now there's this for all the world to see and look at, that he's cheated on her a lot over the years. And she just went along with it and let him do it. I'll say it again. I think the WWE landscape would be much different today if she would have just gotten it over with, lawyered up, and took him for half of everything he owns. But that didn't happen for some reason. Still hasn't happened. She's still legally married to this guy, even though it's a well-known fact, if you believe what Meltzer says, those two haven't been really involved in a true relationship with each other in decades. In decades, since like right around the Attitude Era, if not before. But he took those kids' birthright away from them. He took his grandkids' birthright away from them. And it's sad. It really is sad. So that's what I took away from the documentary as a whole. Meltzer's an idiot. Um, Also, Bruce Pritchard is just an apologist. He has no shame. He will not ever say a bad thing about Vince McMahon, and I get it. I ultimately get it. How, um, how when a man gives you everything and is like a father to you, and has given you the life that you have, and you owe everything that you are and everything that you have and ever will have to him, it's hard to bash him. It's hard to bash that person. It's hard for me right now to hate the company that I work for and the people that I work for, even though they do some pretty stupid things, because I have a good life because of this company. I have a good, I can't, I'm in a position now where I can't go to another company and make what I'm making now. So I've been at the company that I work for 5 years. But, in Shane and Stephanie's thing, and from their point of view, what do they have? What do they have? Stephanie is fully gone from that company. I am assuming that she still has stock in the company. Shane as well. Shane's been gone from that company for decades now. Linda McMahon, I'm assuming, still has stock in that company. She resigned from the company way back when she decided to run for Senate. Um, Another thing that people brought up in the aftermath of this that I'm seeing is the Steve Austin thing where he's like, I don't believe in CTE. I think if you were to look, that makes him look pretty bad, even though it's been proven that that's what Chris Benoit had. And you can have guys like Paul Heyman go, I don't care about CTE. He killed his wife and daughters, or wife and kid. Yes, he did. And yes, he's a piece of crap for doing so. But I firmly believe that the man was not in his right mind when all this happened. So I'm willing to give it a little bit of benefit of the doubt when it comes to this and say he wasn't all there. He was not himself. And everybody who you interview about Benoit says it, has said it. Jericho, Bret Hart has said it. Everybody who CNN tried to do a gotcha piece on it with Nancy Grace and all them, Chris Jericho, Bret Hart, everybody, has said that the Chris who did this was not the Chris I knew. So for Austin to sit there and say, I don't know about CTE, I don't believe in it, that's kind of stupid on his part because it's a science. It's scientifically proven that it's real. It's a real thing. They got the X-rays and the brains to prove it. But anyway, like I said, Meltzer came off horrible in this. He really did. He came off as such a gotcha artist, especially with the WrestleMania thing, WrestleMania 3. He's still to this day, harps on that. Like anybody really gives a crap how much, see, they were doing this and they were doing that. Yeah, and you also say that you were talking to Vince McMahon during the 80s and 90s and that you were giving him advice, but you have no proof of it. So shut up and go away, you old fart. Anyway, let me know what y'all thought of the documentary as a whole. Again, not really much to an aftermath of this. It's done. It's over with. The only thing that we have really now to watch out for is if and or when the FBI comes and knocking on his door. Anyway, folks, if you see a big rig on the road, give us plenty of room. Do not tailgate us. Go the speed limit. Let us over if we need to get over. If you can't see our mirrors, we can't see you. We'll see you down the road.